was, as a baby, newborn, he was put in a shoebox and left at the front door of an orphanage in Ukraine. And it was called the House of Babies, this orphanage, ages 0 to 4. So his first 4 years, he was in the House of Babes. And what was that like? The House of Babes, yeah.
In Cherkasy.
Yeah. Do you remember that well?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I remember my not clear.
Okay. You did tell me that you didn't have a name.
Yes. Yeah, we have like numbers. Every person often have number.
Okay. And was there electricity there?
When Ukraine separate from USSR, when broken USSR, that's Ukrainian independent, and Russia supply to electricity and gas, and when broken, that's Russia stop.
Yeah.
And that's
So your power was cut off.
Yeah, that's true.
So the House of Babes with all these other babies had no power.
Yeah, and Ukraine start.
Or Ukraine had no power.
Yeah.
And so were there, in the House of Babes, where it was, did you have plenty to eat?
No, not
No?
really, no.
And did you have running water?
Running?
Running water. Did you turn on and walk?
Yes, I see. Sorry.
You know, you chased it.
I cannot. Yeah, that's no. That's
No running water?
no.
So how often did you get bathed?
We have like some establishment when like a no, that's called
Bath?
bucket.
Bucket.
Bucket water in like.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wash off.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the people that were there taking care of you, were you well treated or mistreated, or were they kind to you?
Yeah, some kind,
Some were kind.
and every person often we try call like teachers and who look after us, like mom and.
Yeah,
Dad.
they tried, but they didn't have much to work with, and just tried to keep you alive, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was crowded. There were a lot of babies in there.
Yes, this is crowded. I think it's 200 or nearly
200?
300.
Yeah.
Often, yeah.
Did you have beds, or did you sleep on the floor?
Yeah, we sleep in the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's I
So
remember.
You were a number, not a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have like a bracelet.
Bracelet with your number on
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Now, some of you are very familiar with Vic Jacobson. Vic is an evangelist from England, and who came through Williams in the early 80s. And Vic was an orphan also. His granddad, he's from Southampton, his granddad went down with the Titanic. And Vic never knew his dad, and he never knew his mother until later in his life. His mother was a prostitute, and he led her to the Lord on her deathbed, which is an amazing story. But Vic grew up in an orphanage. And when he got out of the orphanage, he became a criminal. He joined the gangs, and he was locked up for theft in the Winchester prison. And there was he was in solitary confinement, and there was a Gideon Bible in there. And Vic had dyslexia, so he had always been told he was slow because he couldn't read. And he's sitting there alone, counted all the brick, and the Gideon Bible, King James 16:11. He thought Christianity was for good people, and he knew he wasn't one. And so, but he had nothing else to do in that prison cell, so he picks up and he starts reading the King James Bible, and he finally gets to this Jesus. He said, well, Jesus is my kind of guy. You know, they didn't like him either. And then he gets to the thief on the cross. The thief on the cross, and he was a thief. And he said, I wonder if he knew his mom and dad. And Jesus said, this day you'll be with me in paradise. So Vic gets down on his knees. He's like 18 years old. And here's his sinner's prayer. He said, God, I'll give you 10 days to change my life. If you hadn't done it by then, you've copped it. That's British for you blew it. God, I'll give you 10 days to change my life. Now fast forward, it's amazing how God has used the spirit of this one orphan prisoner to transform and bring hope to so many lives, orphans and prisoners, and as you'll see. So this whole story is a connection with Vic Jacobson coming through here, and who's a part of our family. Now, that's Vic, surrounded by orphans, and the House of Babes in Cherkasy, Ukraine, where these children come and they're a number. Vic goes in and sees, the depravity of the place, and it breaks his heart, so he gets busy. Now, when he came through in '84, I had just recorded an album called Bug Zapper, and Vic got that cassette Bug Zapper, and he goes back and he invites me over we've been doing prison streets, jails, a yard from the gates of hell ever since then. That was the first trip to England. This really had opened the door all over the world. And we have really been close friends and companions and fellow servants together. He's a mentor to me. I've learned so much from our friend, and I treasure his friendship. And right now, his ministry is taking care of his wife, Sue, who has Alzheimer's. And he's stopped everything else to give her care. And I talked with him on Skype this morning, and they're praying for us right now. But William's family is Vic's family. And so he goes in and he sees the House of Babes and the condition that it's in, and he comes back, and what he would do is he would do these fundraising tours in England to raise the awareness of the plight of orphans in Ukraine or South Africa, or wherever the case may be. And I was a part of those music tours, and that's how I got a million stories about that. Won't take you all night. I won't chase rabbits. I'll try to stay on course. But Vic goes, sees House of Babes, comes back, does a fundraiser of concert tours and letting the need be known. And this is what the House of Babes looks like today. And these, Patty and I were over there several years ago, and you can see the children are well kept. The place is, has central heat and air, hot and cold running water, salaries for staff to help take care of these kids. And there's a couple. Now, this guy, at what age did you leave House of Babes?
Nearly 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So 5 years, you still don't have a name.
Yeah.
And they transfer you to the orphanage.
Yeah.
Okay, and they give you a name then.
Yeah, an orphanage gave me a name.
Okay, and this is what he moved into. Now, what was a typical day in the orphanage for you, would you say? You get up in the morning and...
Yes, wake up and go to exciting.
Exercising?
Exercise, and after exercise we have a breakfast. And after breakfast...
What would you have for breakfast?
Daily breakfast, this is like potatoes, whole potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
and water.
And water.
And sometime piece of bread.
Okay, that was
Yes.
breakfast.
Yeah, that's breakfast.
Okay.
And after breakfast we go to school, and school very close.
The school was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And after school we go to dinner.
Dinner?
Yeah, or supper.
And what would you have for dinner?
In dinner we have soup, yeah, and 2 pieces of bread, and glass of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was every day.
Yeah, that's his daily feeding.
Were you always hungry?
Yes, that's true.
But you didn't know anything else.
No.
And so how many, in these conditions, part of that time you did not have electricity there.
Yeah.
And I think for 4 years. And then Vic comes through.
Yeah.
And you were sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
With 300 other orphans in this dilapidated place with outhouses that the stench, it'd break your heart to go in there and see the conditions. And each of the children were in swaddling clothes, and all they had was on their back. And he was one of them, obviously. And then when Vic came in, they got some bunk beds and things. Now, this church, the church at Williams, has been supporting Vic ever since those days, up to this day. So it's not just praying for him. And he started a work called Hope Now. And it was through the charity of Hope Now that he was accomplishing, all these things. Okay, so then that's where I first met Val. He must have been 9 or 10. I don't remember, but when I saw him, he was with all the other kids. And but it was like looking at a group of people like this, and one is just like a snapshot. It's just like a Kodak on your mind. And it caught me. Okay, so I leave there, never knew his name or anything about him, but I remember this there was something different about this young man. Okay, so now what happens in the orphanage is when you turn 16 years old, you get kicked out. Literally. They do not have the funds to accommodate, all the needs, and when someone turns 16, they have to go out on the street. They just put them out. And so what typically happens when you don't have any family, and you have no support, and you have no job skills, no opportunities, a number of those young people become the supply for human trafficking. And they sell their bodies to pimps. And that's a horrible, horrible crisis that's happening right now. And by the way, I-20 is one of the main thoroughfares for human trafficking in the world. And which is another, incredible need. Now, so these orphans, some will start peddling drugs and join the mafia and go into crime, but a high percentage of them commit suicide. So this is what he was facing. Now, when most of the children there had cousins and aunts and uncles, and who would come on like a Saturday a month, they would have visitation day. And he had nobody to come see him. So he would go up in the woods while the others were visiting by himself and just wait. And then, and some of his friends were adopted into families, but nobody wanted him. Okay, and I asked him, how did that feel? It had to hurt your feelings terribly. And did you think something was wrong with you, that nobody wanted you?
Yeah, sometimes feel bad, but I understand I'm not alone. Yeah, because when I'm 10 years, I'm realize Jesus work in my life, and He is protect, and He is my hope and my love. And
so you,
yes.
Though you were in that situation, do you ever remember a time that you were alone? You've never been alone.
No.
But you were 10.
He is my family.
Jesus is your family.
Yeah.
So, but when you were 10, some people from a church came in, and you realized what his name is.
Yeah. He is my father, mother, sister, brother.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so there's this other friend who was a classmate of Vic's in college at Spurgeon College named Arthur. Now Arthur's a main part of the story. Arthur would go in with the team into the orphanages and share the gospel with using magic tricks and balloons and so forth. So Arthur comes in and gets Val to assist him in one of the tricks. Okay, so Val is now 14. Arthur comes back a year later, and Val knows he's got a year. And he says, please adopt me. Arthur, adopt me. Let me go home with you. I've got to leave next year. Well, Arthur has a mother with cancer he's taking care of. He does not have the financial resources. He lives in England, but he said it broke his heart, but there was no way he could take him in. He said, but I'll do this. I'll correspond with you, and we'll be praying for you every day. So that began a correspondence for a year's period of time. And and that's Arthur. Okay, so God sent this father figure, and there's this group of people in Dover, England, have joined the prayer support, for Val, and he also sets up a savings account that anybody, any of the neighbors, want to give some, to help support this young man. Arthur set that up. Now the correspondence, he knows no English, so the correspondence, there's translators in Vic's office of Hope Now to see that the communication flows between those two. All right, so now he still doesn't have anywhere to go until enter Korsun, Ukraine. Now, this is on the way to Korsun. Korsun is a village that was about an hour and a half drive from the Sfola orphanage where he was. And this is how the people live there. We're on the way to Korsun now, the village. That's an outhouse. Okay, now in Korsun, in 1987 it must have been, Vic comes through and he says there is a church meeting in homes and that's growing, and they desperately need a church building, and they have the property. He said, I think it would be wonderful. Now Barry Howard's going to be leaving. What a wonderful time for First Baptist Church of Williams to have a fundraiser to build a church for the people in Korsun. How many of you were here then? Look at that. What was it, 14,000? It's amazing what a dollar will buy over there. So he said, 14,000 they can build their church building. Okay, now in this humble, rural, outhouse, backward village, I want to show you the First Baptist Church of Williams, Korsun campus. Now, would you believe this guy, that white-haired guy right there, would you believe that he speaks fluent Ukraine and English? He's carrying on a conversation with her. That's me, and I don't. You can put would you believe in any question. You can tell any lie you want to, right? Okay. Now, would you believe, look at this. These people are so grateful to God for the support that allowed them to build this. Look how they keep the flowers and all. Now, right around the corner there is the outhouse for this church. And the outhouse, it's a nice outhouse. It's got concrete with a drain in it and everything. And it's really cold in the winter. But now this right over in the right there, you see the corner of the roof, that little house that needs a roof, that's where he moved into when he left the orphanage. Okay, now Vic sends him a bus ticket. So when he walks out from the orphanage, he gets on a bus and he's going to Korsun to meet some people he's never had any contact with and never known before. But he's not alone. Okay. All right, so he goes. So this church family in Korsun, there we are. As you can see, there's Val and Patty and me. As you can, somebody got our seat on the second row, right there. So they let us move up front and all. But this is your church family in Korsun, Ukraine, and this is the. Now that's Misha and Vera Spadka, and
Olga and Nastya.
Nastya.
Yeah, that's his daughters.
That's their daughters, and Nastya just had a baby, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and now Misha, Vera leads him to the Lord. Vera's dad died in a Russian Siberia camp put there for his faith in Christ. And she's had a relationship with Jesus all these years, and she led him to the Lord. And he felt this call to preach, but he's about 5 feet tall, and he said God wouldn't call anybody as short as I am to preach. Well, she kept ministering to him, and so he became pastor of the church now. All right, now I was in Cherkasy at the Alpha House, we call it, which was the home base for Hope Now, where we go to these orphanages and prisons and so forth from there. That was our headquarters. And I look out the window, and here comes this guy in a coat and tie, all dressed up, and Vic says, that's Misha from Korsun. you need to go to Corson and see the church Williams built. I said, yeah, I knew this was a divine appointment. And this began a really close relationship. This is about 15 years ago. Okay, so what had happened is he and his family were sleeping in that church. And they moved out of the way, out of the Sunday school rooms for Sunday, church, but they had nowhere to live other than that church. And so what they had done is they saved up the equivalent of $1,500, and they needed $1,500 more to get them a home. And so they'd already found the home, and so which was about a block from the church. And so that's what he'd come to ask Vic and Hope now if they could get some help in purchasing a home where they could move out of the church. All right, so I ride to him and I meet the family. They got a translator and all, and we fall in love. Of course we do. And I knew, okay, we don't have $1,500, but I come home and I get a call. This lady in Houston, Texas, God led her to send some stock, corporate stock. I never had any. She said, what's your account so we can wire it to you? I said, what are you talking about? I don't know how to do all that. So they walked us through it, and they send enough through the stock to not only bless them with their own home, but some other needs were met too. Their daughter needed surgery, and God supplied. Okay, so this has been, for all these years, our Father's Arms, Ukraine, where he came to live. So then they were able to embrace and take him in as their family. Okay, now, there's Misha and Arthur baptizing Valeri in their baptistry there. Okay, now, so here's Arthur saving up. Hope now, Vic at this particular time has a scholarship program and is supporting 200 Ukrainian young people to go to college and continue their education. He was one of those 200. Okay, and so there's a college in Corson and he had a bicycle, loves to ride. He's ready to ride to Birmingham the other day. So he is. You finish the orphanage with the equivalent of an 8th grade education. So he is now goes to night school and gets the equivalent of high school, and now he's going and with people sacrificially giving and helping him, he gets his 4-year degree and a certification to become a teacher. And so the supporters who are sacrificing to support is kind of, well, great, wonderful job, young man, and had no idea that he was applying to go to medical school in Kiev. When did you first realize that you were called to be a medical doctor?
Oh, that's in orphanage.
In the orphanage?
Yeah, in the orphanage. I dream.
You dream?
About surgery, about exams, and like body, about physiology.
Physiology?
Physiology, yeah, that's I.
So in the orphanage, you would dream you were doing surgery?
Yeah, but that's impossible.
Impossible.
Nothing impossible for Jesus.
So Jesus had a plan. Okay, so now he's got to go. Now here's this child, little country boy in this village. And you can see right here, Kiev is a major, major city, like New York or something. And so how did you get to there in order to take this medical exam?
Yeah, I must go to Kiev directly and pass exams.
How'd you get there?
By bus.
By bus?
Yeah, by bus.
How did you get a bus ticket?
Vic.
Oh, Vic gave you a bus ticket to go to sit for the exam there?
Yes.
Okay, now what was it like the first time you go and see Kiev?
Yeah, that's the first time.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Subways, millions of people.
Yeah.
Skyline. Did that scare you a little bit?
Yes, but Jesus said, do not afraid, go. Don't afraid.
Don't afraid, go.
Yeah, go. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Jesus let you know that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, then, what is the name of this medical university?
That's the name of Bogomolets.
Bogomolets Medical University.
Yeah, in Kiev. This is main university of Ukraine.
That's their Bib Graves Hall there. Okay. And would you believe I can read you what that says on the top right there? No. Well, anyway, It says, "Welcome, Valeri."
It's
So now he goes in there and he takes this examination, and there were 1,000 applicants for medical school. This is an exclusive medical school internationally. There are doctors who have come through here practicing all over the world. And he goes and sits for, how long did it take the examination?
How long?
How long?
8 hours?
8 hours?
Yes, 8 hours.
Okay. There were 1,000 applicants and only 70 were selected, and he was at the top of that 70. So now he's going to medical school, and he needs a place to live. Okay, this apartment complex you can see here is they have a flat or a room. Now, how many rooms was your apartment?
1 room.
1 room?
Yeah, and like a restroom.
Restroom?
Yeah, that's all. But I completely enough.
Did you have to remodel it to make it livable? Did you have to work in there where you could live in it?
Yeah.
It wasn't livable.
Yeah.
Until you worked on it.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so this is where you lived for the 6 years that you were going to medical school? And how far is this from the university?
Nearly 1 hour.
Nearly
40 minutes by subway or metro.
Okay, so you made that trip every day?
Yeah.
And to go to class.
Yeah.
You go home. Were there any other college students living here or no? So you pretty well were alone, but you were not alone.
No.
But you were catching the subway and and all those people and everything and studying and then there you are in the back with some of your classmates.
Yeah, that is when I'm returned to Cherkasy. This is my nurse. I'm teach nurse.
This was not in Kiev. This was after your residency in Cherkasy.
Yeah,
okay.
that is like some students come to hospital. I'm teach like medicine.
Okay, so you were teaching medicine in this hospital to these others. All right, so you had completed your 6 years in Kiev, and then you're doing your residency in Cherkasy at the hospital there. So that's where that was taken.
Yeah.
Okay, and there you are. You look like a teacher. Okay, you saw the beautiful skyline of Kiev. You remember, those of you who watch the news, February of 2014, this happened. There was a revolt, and all hell broke loose in Kiev. Okay, how did you first, you're in Cherkasy doing your residency. How did you first find out about this? Through the media?
Yeah, in 2013, when Ukraine, we have a President Yanukovych, and almost people know situation. It's about like difficult economy and difficult time, and like President Putin have proposed to Yanukovych, I give you $20 billion and you give me Ukraine. And Yanukovych say, okay, I give you like Ukraine, and you give me $20 billion. And that's Ukrainians know about the situation and do not want join with Russia because this is no future, okay, with Russia. Ukraine want with Europe like good democracies, good economists, good quality education. And Yanukovych say no, like to sell Ukraine, okay, and start revolution in Ukraine, and millions people come to streets and like millions, and that's time when I've been in Cherkasy, in hospital, and some organization or some person who responsible of the medical service in Kiev, like interview through radio, say we need like medical volunteers.
So you heard on the radio, you knew about the revolt that was taking place, And so you heard on the radio they needed medical volunteers to
Yes.
help treat the people.
Yeah, and this is moment Jesus touched my heart, and he say, "I'm always time with you. Do not afraid. Go to maybe not treat. Yes, I'm treat lots of bodies, but you must be survive spirituals. Spirituals.
Help them survive spiritually.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now, so you checked with the administration and they released you to go.
Yeah. Like
from
a
your interest.
bless me.
Blessed you to go
Yeah,
and
go.
volunteer.
Yeah, volunteers.
How did you get from Cherkasy back to Kiev?
And again, by stickage, and I'm very grateful for Father Arms organization,
Yeah.
and because that's organization like support me by tickets for bus and like send money.
So our Father's Arms through Vic
Yeah,
sent you the ticket to get up there.
yeah, and send money for.
So you had a check card.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that you could eat.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the money that you had on the check card so that you could eat, what else did you do with it?
And almost I buy medicine because we not have medical stuff like bandage, woundage, anesthetics or analgesics. Analgesics I buy.
Okay.
And because many people have lacerated wounded and lots of blood, and that's.
So this is what you got off the bus and saw.
Yeah. Well, this is my desire. Desire to.
I think that anyone that does not believe in hell can't look at this. Hell on earth. And this is the team,
Yeah.
the volunteer medical team.
Yeah.
Okay, now you were there treating patients
Yeah.
non-stop.
Yes, non-stop. Approximately 12 hours per day during the 4 months.
12 hours.
Yeah.
And then how much time did you have off?
Nearly 4 or 5 hours.
4 or 5 hours,
Yes.
and then you were back on 12 again.
And, yeah.
So it was 12, 4, 5, 12, 4,
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
For how long?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yes. 7 days.
In the midst of this blood and carnage
Yeah.
and treating people.
Yeah.
And many of them dying.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So while you were treating them, they were dying in your arms.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sometimes I cannot help because some bullet affect main organs like lungs, brain, liver, kidney. When acute bleeding, and what I first ask people: do you believe in Jesus? Yes. Please pray with me, and please to repent with me, because physiology body, this is nothing, okay? And spiritual body, this is you live with Jesus forever, okay? And please pray with me immediately, quickly, because you must save your spiritual. That's his work. That's work. We have every day many people died. Many people. Yeah.
And you were treating their body, but when you couldn't save their physical life.
Because
you were praying with them and sharing Christ with them.
Yeah. I say, please pray if you want survive your because this is land life. In heaven we have much better life, okay? Much better. And please pray with me.
We have we take so much for granted. We think because somebody comes to church and says they're a Christian, then they are. So we just share Jesus. This is the truth. You and I are in no different situation than these people right here. We're all dying. It just may not be as quick. We don't know when it is, but it's appointed man wants to die. We want to dodge the fact that life's not a permanent setup, physical life. This is the gospel. The one who created us with a will, so that we could choose to love him. He wants a relationship. He created you and me and all of humanity in his image, that he may have a relationship. But you can't have a relationship with a robot. And the reason he gave humankind a will is so we could choose to love him. But he knew that we would choose to reject him. The consequence is sin, the self-indulgent nature, selfish. You are selfish. You were born selfish. It's in your Adamic DNA. You can't help it. You were born that way. You can't help being born that way physically any more than a baby in that hospital can help being born a drug addict because her mother was, or his mother was. Each of us were born crack babies, corrupt rebellion against Christ's kingdom. And we're helpless, and we're miserable. And the wages of sin is death, and that's what you see with the carnage all over the planet and all the violence and all the death that's around us that's intensifying. The evil that's intensifying is because of the selfish nature of man. Why would man even have to have a government to keep at bay his selfish, self-destructive nature for a season? But the wages of sin is death, and you're going to die, and I'm going to die. And here's the one who created us for himself, and I promise you, he knows the beginning from the end. He's this incredible, mysterious creator. We cannot possibly begin to understand him, but he knew we would reject him. But it would give him the opportunity to come into planet Earth through the womb of a virgin where he wouldn't be born a crack baby with that Adamic nature. But he was tempted in like manner as you and I, yet without sin. And when he went to the cross that day, he was publicly declaring that he loves you. You with a copyrighted thumbprint, the one who created you with the ability to think, knows your thoughts. And he passionately loves you as if you're his only child. And he says, you cannot be good enough. No matter who you impress, no matter how much money you make, no matter how many points you put on the scoreboard, you can't prove yourself. One selfish thought disqualifies a human being from God's perfect heaven. We're helpless until we see who he is and why he came. And when he went to the cross that day, the sinless Lamb of God, he became the fulfillment of that Old Testament and all those prophets. He came to take away the sins of the world, and he demonstrated a love for you that's greater than your selfish rebellion. And to as many as received him, he comes in and gives us a new nature. And more and more and more, because he is at work in the hearts of those who will let him love him. We realize we're not alone. We realize we have a Savior and a Shepherd. We're not trying to do right to be right. We have dialogue with him, and we know him. Stretch out on this couch. Open up your mind. Dig back into your past. It's analyzing time. You just might be a schizophrenic, masochistic and sadistic too. If they don't know what to call you, any $10 word will do. So don't try to avoid the wisdom of Sigmund Freud. If you think your thinking's on the blink, well, you can sell out to a shrink. After all, it's a crazy world. Everybody's fighting to cope, help fill up the padded rooms, legalize a little more dope. You can pickle your brain with booze, you can smoke your head with grass, you can get you a case of religion, child, but none of that junk will last. You can bury your head in the sand, bet your life on some retirement plan, but in the final analysis, all that really matters is, do you know the man? Not know about him, do you know him? And there's only one way to get to know him, and that's let him in. That tug you may feel on your heart right now, that's Jesus knocking at the door of your heart. And he wants to come in and not dominate you and be your boss, but come in and be your friend that sticks closer than a brother and guide you through your life. And it doesn't matter what you got working against you. When you let him come in, when you receive him, then you're experiencing what he has been experiencing all his life. I'm never alone. Jesus has a plan. I'm not afraid. I'm going to go. And this intimate love affair with this person that comes and sticks closer to you than a brother begins to become a reality in your life. And you begin to experience that peace that passeth all understanding and that joy inexpressible and full of glory that comes from knowing him, not knowing about him. The sinner's prayer is this. Well, for Vic, it was, I'll give you 10 days to change my life. But the sinner's prayer oftentimes is a simple one word. He says, I love you, let me. And I say, yes.